correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPGs, a podcast where me and my friend Steve try and help you get the most out of your role-playing game experience.
Welcome back to Me and Steve Talk RPGs. I'm here with my friend Steve.
Hello.
And we have a lovely guest on this evening. But before we get to that, we have a podcast of the week.
We do. And this week, that podcast on the D20 Radio Network is The Story Told, where Logan, Griffin, and I apologize because I don't remember the name of their new third co-host, talk all kinds of games. Their most recent episode at the time of recording, they actually talked with Craig Campbell from Nerdburger Games about his game Good Strong Hands. And they're also doing a actual play of Promethean.
Yeah.
Along with, I think they're working on one for City of Mist as well. So a lot of really good talk there. We've had Logan and Griffin on the show before, and probably will again sometime, just because they're cool people and they love RPGs. So, yeah, you can find them pretty much any podcatchers, whatever. It's The Story Told. And put a link in the show notes. And, of course, you can find that and all kinds of other gaming goodness over at d20radio.com. So, all right. So you said we have a guest, Steve.
Yes. Why don't you introduce our guest?
Yes. Well, yes, because I've talked with him somewhat more than you have.
Yes.
Our guest this week comes to us long distance, all the way from, if I'm not mistaken, what is sometimes called the land of the midnight sun, that being Denmark. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's Denmark, yeah.
Yep, but we're past midnight now in Denmark, so I don't know if it's still sunny there.
It's pretty dark here. So and we haven't got any midnight sun in Denmark. So it's not true the name of the co-name of the country. But yeah, and many of your US listeners will also know that Denmark is not a part of Sweden. So that's to be clarified. That it's so all the weird geographical obstacles are outside the box now. So let's talk about RPGs instead.
All right. So yes, our guest is Jacob Sorensen, who actually is a podcaster in his own right. Does a really good podcast called the GM Workshop.
Yeah,
and he and I kind of met through some RPG group on Facebook, I think.
Yeah,
we chatted on and off, and amongst other things, it's come to our attention that you're a big fan of, speaking of Sweden, Free League's games.
Yeah.
Particularly their Year Zero engine.
Yeah. It's it's so true. I picked up those games for a few years ago because I heard another actual play podcast about the Alien RPG, and I always loved the Alien universe and the franchise and so on. And I actually heard some of the Alien playthrough of the intro scenario, Last Hope, from the intro box, and heard that the system actually worked and it seems cool. It wasn't crunchy. It wasn't in the way of the horror story. And then I picked up the game myself and I played it a lot after. And then I made this GM Workshop podcast, and I was talking to Andrew Gaskett, that's the creator of the game for Free League, and he got me into other Free League games, not him as directly, but I had to talk to Free League to get a hold of him and so on. So I picked up a lot of the other games of that company, and so many of those I played a very bunch. So
Yeah, so and most Free League games, not all of them, but most of them run off what they call their Year Zero engine.
Yeah.
Which I guess originally, well, in English, it comes from, the first game they released, I think, was called Mutant Year Zero.
Yes.
That's Year Zero engine. But my understanding is originally in Swedish, that game had been around for a long time as just Mutant.
Yeah. It is Mutant Engine. The Mutant Engine comes from the Mutant Chronicle. The Mutant Zero game, not the Mutant Chronicles. Not to be confused by those that setting and game. But yeah, in Sweden they had a lot of. In Sweden in general has a vast history of creating RPGs, like the Dragonbane role-playing game, which were called Draugr and Demoner back in the days. Was called just been pre-released now as the Dragonbane roleplay. Called Divinity Lost, as you maybe know, is also Swedish. A brilliant game. I can talk on that a bunch as well, so we can talk on that another time. And we are also always seen from Denmark. I played since the 90s. I played Cult back in the 90s, the first edition, second edition, and saw that the Swedish has some kind of ability to create real great RPGs. But as I talked to Niels, that created the Vaesen scenario, the Vaesen setting, and the Tales from the Loop, created that into an RPG. He points out that Swedes love to play role-playing games, but they don't want to get bothered by the system, so they made easy systems so they can play RPGs, and that's my philosophy as well. So that's the reason I love the Swedish RPGs in general, but especially free league games. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, and I think that's a valid thing, because we actually just did an episode where we were kind of talking about crunch, and I said, one of the things I really like with a game is when the dice does its thing and then gets out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of in a way what you're speaking of there. And it's one of the things I've heard a lot about with Year Zero games. Now, I actually own 2 Year Zero games, although I have yet to read or play them. And I know Steve owns at least one.
Mm-hmm.
You have anything
Yes.
other than Tales?
No, I have a copy of Mutant Year Zero on the computer, but I don't have a physical copy of it. But yeah, I have Tales from the Loop, and I read it. I really like the system. It's a really, really cool system. I agree with you. I like that it gets out of the way of itself for the role play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked this, old Steve and me, before you came on, Steve, was that the Tales setting up so weird and so actually in the way of the role-playing game. I've tried it a few times, and I had to explain a lot of things to my players, but the systems are so smooth and elegant, and the archetypes and the talents and so on. It's so easy in the Engine Zero rules as such. In Tales there are no talents, so that's much less crunch than like the Twilight 2000 is the most crunchy game they have with the Forbidden Lands, which also are Engine Zero rules. And I've tried them all, and I love the Mutant Zero. I haven't tried the core game actually. I never played it, but I've read it out, and the system and the talents, and made it extremely crunchy. But in each edition they cut some of the crunch from it. And Tales are the most clean version of the Engine Zero rules, and then they put some stuff on top of it because it became too simple, I think, in the terms of role playing. So the characters wasn't differential enough because they didn't have the talents like in the Engine Chrono, in the Mutant, or in Forbidden Lands, right? So yeah, that was my takeaway from reading into the history of that system's development. Another Engine Zero rule game I played a lot is Vaesen. Vaesen is a gorgeous setting where we play in Scandinavia, where I live. So I have a lot of folklore and so on. But I can see on the Facebook pages and so on, they follow a Brazilian guy that play Vaesen in Brazil using Brazilian folklore and so on. It's so cool, the creatures and the weird folklore stuff they have in Brazil and in South America. Also the same in Australia and so on. So Vaesen is this weird, I don't want to spoil the meta plot for you, but it's such a great thing to play in the 19th century, where the technology and the clash between the old world and new world are the real turmoil between the new world and the industrial age and so on will clash together, and the characters are in the middle of figure out how to handle the supernatural and the industrial stuff, right? So it's a cool setting, and I encourage everyone who love like Call of Cthulhu but hate the system, use that system instead. So that's my takeaway from that setting. So yeah.
I know they're also working on their own version of, we'll call it Call of Cthulhu, a Lovecraftian mythos game.
Yes. Matt from Three Skulls Tavern, our key creator on that. I should have been a playtester, but I didn't have the time. So I cannot spoil too much about it, but I don't think it's the Engine Zero rules in my estimates. I can't figure out what kind of system set they are using in that regards. But
that's odd because Matt is a huge fan of the Year Zero engine.
Yes, but I think that's they think the Cthulhu setting will lay too much of it up at the Vaesen setting, so there may be a clash there. But I have no idea because they are very tight about the info on the game, and I try to lurk some info out of Matt, but he is very closed up. so it's cool. It's all cool, but I hope they will use the Engine Zero rules, and I hope they use the original with the D6. We can talk about the new edition of the rules in a moment. If you
I was going to say we've kind of jumped around talking about some of the games and so forth. And different versions of it. Notably, I believe Blade Runner introduced the use of different die sizes, but
no, the Twilight 2000 actually. The Twilight
okay.
The Twilight 2000 was the first one that they got.
That's right.
Yeah.
Some of the dice are 12s or something, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like in the dice we normal function with a dice pool. You have 4 in perception and 2 in whatever scouting ability. Then you have six sixes and six sided dice. That was hard word to say so late in the night here. And each 6 you roll is a success. And instead of have 4 perception and 2 in whatever scout ability you have a D12 instead of the 4, and you have a D8 instead of the 2. And then you roll it, and all 6s and up and 10 and up is successes.
Okay.
So it's not intuitive as the D6's system. In my humble opinion. So
yeah, I'll be honest. I bought Twilight 2000 more for the setting than the system.
Yep. Yeah.
But so the basic version is a D6 dice pool game where you roll a handful of D6s and you just look for 6s or 1s, I guess 2.
Yeah, but it's in the Forbidden Lands. You have some equipment that takes 1s as a failure, and if you push your roll in Forbidden Lands, 1s are also important. That's some other. That's the crunch in that system. In the Aliens, you have the stress mechanic, which is the best mechanic in all of the RPGs I've ever played. We can talk on Alien in a moment. So. Why this system is perfect for this game or this setting, because there are stress dices in Aliens where 1s also are important. So but yeah, 6s are the things we're looking for, and then we use the other dices where 6 is up and 10 is and up is 2 successes with the new dice system. So
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it sounds like on the surface, it's a very easy to learn core mechanic.
Yes.
Which, like you said, like there's you don't have to add stuff up. You just look and go, okay, I have 3.
Yeah.
Or however many.
Yeah, or one. And the fail forward system. The fail forward is integrated into the system. So if you don't have any successes, we will move on. You will pick the lock, or you will jump over the fence. But then I can, as a GM, figure out a complication for you later, because a player will always succeed his or her role, but if you don't have any successes, then we have complications. So that's the balance in the system. As
okay.
Such. Yeah.
So it's more designed for, at least in those, and I'm guessing that's in more, shall we say, mundane circumstances, but. Because I can't imagine, in some sort of, say, a combat check or even a social conflict check, that you would have the players automatically succeed all the time.
No, combat is the one thing where you have to roll successes to hit the opponent. Because that's it's good, should be another thing. I have in scenes where I liked the players or the bad guy to hit the players, that I give them some complications afterwards instead, but they're still hitting their opponents. But it's not integrated into the system as well, as it's just because I've played it a lot and want some capacity to change up the flow of the game. But on the surface, this is the rules. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like it's very, very story forward, if you will.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah.
And then I do know, like you had mentioned, they call a push mechanic, which I believe isn't that also part of Coriolis?
Yes, it's in all the systems. Coriolis is there. If for those that doesn't know it, it's Felix high sci-fi game. It's Warhammer 40,000 mixed with Star Trek on the, and there's it's all the way out in the far reaches of space, and there are some dark forces, the dark powers, and the players can culminate like corruption from the stars and these entities or evil things in the stars. I haven't played Coriolis at all, but I've read the book and talked to the creator and to one Michael Masberg that creates a lot of stuff freelance for the game. So I've talked a lot about Coriolis. So, but in the terms, yes, as you said, the push mechanic is in all the systems, and that's the only thing that's really triggers players, I think. If you come from like the D&D system, you see that you can change up your roll if you like, or you can re-roll the dices, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the Vaesen, which are the most elegant, I think, of the systems, because there's some crunch, but a lot of the crunch are laid into the talents, and some of the coolest talents in all of the games are also in these talents. We could talk to talents later, but in terms of pushing in Vaesen, you have two categories of stat blocks. There's some physicals and some mental stat blocks, and if you want to push a physical, you will receive 1 damage in the physical. This will mean that you also lose 1 hit points. You only get 3 hit points in Vaesen until you are broken. And if you want to push your mental capacities, you get 1 physical hit point damage, and you'll only get 3 psychology mental hit points, and again broken if you get the 4th one, and then you will roll on the table and you can get really, really hurt and die. So yeah.
So now pushing is like, we'll say you don't succeed, but you really, really want to.
Yes, it's typically in combat, or if I can telegraph to the players that you might need 2 successes investigate to get this clue. That's pretty obvious. Or as social encounters, as you said, you have to make charm this guard to let you into the office of the mayor or whatever. Then I encourage you to have a success, and that's a fine balance between the fail forward, the mechanic I told you before, and the push. When do you push as a player? But players can also accumulate stuns, and stuns are the ability to do extraordinary things with a skill or in a scene. In combat, you can do additional damage, or you can, or in social encounters, the next time you will talk to this guard, you have additional dices, or you have an automatic success or something like that with this guard, because he are chummy with you or something like that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the push involves effectively, like you said, in some of those where you risk a stat point, or
yes, in Forbidden Lands you risk stat points,
or worse complications, so to speak. Correct?
Yes, and then you can re-roll your dice pool. Normally you can keep successes. So it's variants from different systems or different settings and systems in with these mechanics. But but usually it's just to re-roll your dice pool in some capacity. So yeah, it's the way to mitigate bad rolls, especially in combat, of course, but also when you really need a success in some capacity.
Okay, and the one other thing you touched on that I hadn't grasped was that there are times where, yes, 1-6 or whatever is a success in terms of the mechanics, but to find a certain clue or whatever, as your GM may set, it's okay, I want you to get 2 or 3 successes on this roll, because that's one thing that my brain went to initially upon hearing about the system was, okay, so you combine a stat and a skill, not going to take too long before you can be rolling 6 dice, and statistical averages, if you roll 6 dice, one of them is going to come up a 6.
Yeah.
Look, we're gamers. We know that doesn't work that way.
That's empirically untrue, Steve. You know that. I have a alien game where I have a Marine shooting with his pulse rifle with 13 dices missing, not a single 6. He pushed the roll, re-rolled, not a single success. So 26 D6s and not 1 6, and he died horrible by an alien. So that was fun times. So yeah, it's weird to see these dice rolls and these huge monks. You have played a lot of Western game D6, I know, so you know the feeling of rolling a lot of D6s and just rolling like a poo-poo. So yeah, and having this option to re-roll or push the roll are so satisfying for many players, because they have a very competent character that have a lot of investigation or whatever, 8 or 9 dice is rolling and not have a single 6, and then can push the roll and get 2 successes or just maybe 1. It's just so satisfying for a player to mitigate a bad roll, and it's easy. It's easy for the players in that regard.
Now, question for you in regards to the push: if the roll you push, if you succeed on the pushed roll, are there consequences?
It's different systems. In Vaesen, there's no additional complications as such, other than you lose one of your conditions in mental or physical hit points. But if you then look at the Forbidden Lands, then your equipment could go broken. It can ruin if you miss the second roll or roll too many ones on the second roll. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a different thing. In the Alien RPG, the way you push in that system, you get additional stress dice. You push your character to the limit, and you get additional stress dice. And the stress dice is you roll one portion of D6s on the side. It's like black dices, and then you get your yellow stress dices. You can get stress dices in many ways, like get hurt or see an alien or figure out that the evil corp are using you as pawns on the spaceship and so on. You get some stress dices, alarm and so on. But it can also be, as you push your roll to hit this poor alien, you get a additional stress dice, and that is a consequence. But the stress dice is also additional dice in your dice pool, so you can succeed with your stress dices. But if you roll 1 on your stress dices, then you panic. And that's so elegant. It's so elegant. It's so easy. It's heart pump action horror because the players around the table feel with their character, because they can see the huge pool of stress dice your character have, and the ones are just so horrifying. If you buy the original dice, and I encourage you to do that because they are beautiful but very expensive, so make up your own mind. That's fine. There's small face huggers on the ones, so yeah, it's beautiful. That's my takeaway from this push mechanic, the most elegant and the best implemented into the game, because it get the feel of the game as well. It's not only a mechanic; it's something that link into the game to stress around the table. It's not only the characters that are stressed. it's also the players, because they have to roll all these stress dice and can see how horrifying wrong it can go panic and shoot somebody near them, or they just go catatonic in its corner, sucking on their thumb or something like that. It's just beautiful, and it's the best push mechanic in the Free League games at all. So yeah, so they try to pick the game up next time you have the chance, Steve. Right?
Yeah. Look, if I start getting, let's face it, I'm going to get more games that I don't have time to deal with, but Alien is actually a bit on the list, and it has been for a while.
Yeah.
But I also desperately would like to use like Twilight 2000 or Mutant Year Zero that I already have.
Yeah, I actually like the Twilight 2000 mechanic. The new dice system is not my cup of tea, but I have to live with it, because I can see the Blade Runner system has implemented it, and the new version of Coriolis has implemented it. So the next version of Vaesen might also be that beast. So I have to contend with it. I'm sorry to say, but yeah, I don't like because it's not intuitive as the D6s. It's not easy to just roll your dices. You have 9 dices on your sheet. Cool, you roll 9 dices instead of, okay, I have to roll a D12, a D10, and 2 D6s. It's not intuitive for players. I played Twilight 6 hours with 3 very experienced players, and it was first after second hour into play we really had hang of it, and that's not cool. That's not okay. But yeah, but I love the ammo mechanic in that game. That's gorgeous. I don't know if you have read it, but if you fire your rifle, your AK-47, whatever, you can add as many ammo dice as you want in the limits of the weapon. I think a assault rifle has 3 dices. So then you roll them, but they also count as successes if you roll 6s. But the complete number of let's say you roll a 1, a 3, and a 6, it's 10. So you use 10 bullets of your gun.
Okay.
It's so elegant to see, because ammo is a scarcity in that system. Of course, it's very important to keep track of it. It's not easy accessible for players. So it's very cool to have that elegant way to make sure that players are using and keeping track of ammo. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very elegant way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I like that. That sounds like now. But you're saying, do you have to use the ammo dice, or is it an option?
No, normally if you have a sniper rifle examples, then you have only 1 shot. You can only use 1 ammo. But if you want to have additional hits with your AK,
okay.
Yeah. And I think I can't remember all the rules. It's been a while, but I think you have to roll at least 1 ammo dice for guns in some capacity, because most of the characters you play are not seasoned veterans, so they just try to shoot their opponents in the best way they try to do it. So yeah.
Okay.
The Twilight 2000 rules are the things I will use in a Fallout campaign, the next Fallout campaign, if I want to create a new Fallout campaign. I just played it with the original 2D20 rules. That was a shit show. It was crunchy. It was stupid. The characters, when they reached 10th level, they were almost immortals. So yeah, that wasn't a good fit for Fallout. And I know they are creating the Walking Dead franchise as well, and using the same system as Twilight, but less crunchy, but with the same armor rules. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot that they got the Walking Dead license. Free League did.
Yeah, that's crazy. They have some great IPs for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, the system sounds, and I should know some of this because I mean I own the books. I just haven't read them. But it sounds beautifully simple but robust at the same time, which I think is often for people who like, what do you want to say, who like a little bit more mechanized system, not necessarily like a Powered by the Apocalypse, which are great games, but sometimes, some people just don't feel like there's enough mechanical meat there.
Yeah.
And this feels like it has enough of that mechanical meat to satisfy those people, but isn't the number crunch of, Rollmaster or GURPS or Shadowrun or
Oh, 2d20.
yeah, or D20.
Yeah, D20, in Pathfinder or D&D 5th edition, it's a lot less crunchy than those systems, and it's easy and intuitive rules mechanic because you just have, as I said, a handful of D6s. We want to hit sixes, and the best part of combat in that system are I love myself a lethal system. I hate hero gaming. I'm not in for hero gaming for most times, but the combats in that regards, first of all, in initiative cards are part of all the systems, and you just have some cards from 1 to 10, and you deal them out to the players, and they just turn them over, and they got you. So Steve, you got number 2, I got number 3, and the orc got number 8. So. And then we just count, and so as TM just count up. You don't have to figure out what your initiative order are, because that are relayed onto you at the beginning of combat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's easy. Instead of I have a +2 on the initiative because I'm an elven bow, whatever. It's not like that at all. It's just more simplified, and also because I've played a bit Forbidden Lands, but also only in the Dark Sun setting. So I haven't played that a lot. But mostly we are playing normal people in our own world in some capacity. So the initiative cards are so easy to understand that we are just a investigator in a Vaesen campaign in London, and I'm not extraordinary in any way, so I cannot say to my GM, hey, I have to come first in this. But there's a talent that you can draw 2 cards and choose the best one or the worst one. That's your choice. So that's a way. And then again, zones in combat. Zones are built like that. That it's normally a room or a hallway or a small part of a forest. It's up to the GM, of course, but it's very intuitive for the players to know. Okay, this is one zone and this is another zone. I can use one action to go into a new zone, or I can use an action into zone. So it's not like small battle map where we have to move around. It's a zone, and we can do anything we want into the zone. So it's very intuitive for players to also make up what. Okay, I will jump onto the table and kick the troll in the nose, or I just want to run out of the door because I don't want the alien to eat me or something like that. It's pretty elegant in that way to let the players tell the story with you in these zones, because it's not confined into a battle map where we have to move. Okay, I can move 12 squares with my elven ranger, whatever. So that's pretty cool.
Okay, so you're saying in well, let's call it structured time, you get to do something in the zone you're in,
yeah,
or move to a different zone. Those are your 2 basic options.
Yeah, you have a fast action or a more complicated action. It's called different things in the systems, but it's the complicated action is like casting a spell or hitting somebody in the head, where the quick action is to moving through or parrying or picking up stuff and so on. So you have some different options in the combat. So you have all the system have different like a menu of stuff you can do in accordance to what kind of action you are using. So it's pretty easy to have that laid out for the players. I normally just reference to it when in combat, or lay them out as like turning my alien GM screen outside, inside out, so the players can see the different options they have. So if they are in doubt of anything, so they are not, will use time and effort in an intense combat to figure out what they want to do in a combat.
Okay. So I think based on our conversation so far, well, I know you're going to give me one of two answers. So let me ask you, what's your favorite version, like setting, produced for the Year Zero engine at this point?
It has to. I have to pick Aliens because it's very elegant the way of the stress dice, as I said, and the first that was also the first game I picked up with that engine, but also it's linked into a new way to think role-playing games because in the Alien RPG, you are taught through the campaign setting. There's 3 campaigns that Andrew Gaska have written. If you've just played through them, you are taught as a GM and as a player to let go of your character and make cinematic choices to have the heighten the story. And the system are very well designed to. It's okay to fail as a player. It's okay to have a complication. It's okay to please be stressed out and so on. So it's the more elegant because the system as a whole is not designed to longer campaigns. It's not very good at longer campaigns. So if you're looking for a system that will help you link into a long epic campaign from level 1 to level 20, if you use the D&D terms, it's not very adaptable to that because and sometimes the players will be too powerful or have too many dices to roll and anything it's just a fluke if they miss anything. So the complications and the story are not interesting anymore. So the Alien RPG is good because you are killing off your player characters in bunch because that's the main flavor of the movies as well. If you've seen any of the movies, they will die as fly unless you have called Sigourney Weaver. And therefore the system are perfect for that instant because it's first of all it's easy to create a new character because it's just an archetype. There's no and then there are no choices on talent, skills, and attributes. But that's like 5 minutes. But also the idea that you have a system that are so easy into action. I have a GM rule. And not only for these games, but I have a GM rule in combat that are the rule of 3. After the 3rd round of combat, there will happen something that will end the combat in some capacity. And my players know this, so they will also try to set them up in a position that they can get away if there come reinforcements or additional aliens or whatever. So I can thematically use this rule into this kind of system because they have to acknowledge that the combat is ending after the next round. So, oh shit, what is going to happen? So it's pretty cool to see my players interact with this rule of 3 I have because I don't like combat. I don't think combat is very exciting, except in this system it actually is because you have the stress dices, so there can happen weird stuff. And the players with a lot of stress dices are actually pretty competent, so they can actually beat the aliens. Like I have 3 6s on their stress dices and 2 1s, but they still hit the alien with the pulse cannon, whatever, and the ones just give them some standing on the sideline and scream the next round and can't do anything. But in the scene, can be a lot of push and pull for the players. So that's cool.
So you touched on something here that reminded me of something that came up between a conversation Steve and I had kind of at the end of one of our recent episodes where I kind of threw out the idea of when you're playing, there's kind of 2 grand ways to look at it, right? Are you controlling a character going through this story, or are you yes, you're controlling this character, but are you serving your character or are you serving what you think is a cool story?
Yes.
And it sounds like what you're saying in your style, and particularly Alien, it sounds like puts this kind of forward, is that it's designed to play the greater story more than your specific character.
Yes, and especially aliens and if you run the alien scenarios Gaska have written, you can take this away pretty much. I think The first one, Chariot of the Gods, are made for 4 or 5 characters, but I think there is 14 characters in the box, so you can figure out that there has to be some recycling of or cycling of characters through. And letting players know at a session 0 it's pretty important that you have a session 0 and give them understanding that we are playing aliens, we are not playing Dungeons and Dragons in a spaceship. Aliens are Alien RPG are you as like Steve. It's you that get the story. It's not the android John that get the story. It's you, the Steve, that get the story. So when your character John the android dies, you get Clara the scientist, and when Clara the scientist dies, you get Murphy the pirate character. So you just go through these characters, because the coolest scene is that John will hold the door so the other players or the other characters can't get away, and the alien will burst out and rip the head of John. Instead of, if John just ran with the other characters, he will be run down from behind, maybe, but he will also kill some of the other characters that might have a plot clue or something like that. And in the Alien RPG, we have there is something very elegant built into, which is nothing with the Ancient Zero rule as such, but as Alien game, you have agendas so that are laid out to the players. Agendas that you have to fulfill or try to fulfill. It's maybe you can do that, but John the android's agenda might be that you have to protect Clara the scientist, and therefore you will make some weird choices or some choices that are relate onto the game's storyboard or the cinematic scenes of the story. So yeah, as you said, it's you as Steve that get the story. It's not your player character. So that's pretty important to know and notify your players all about in the Alien RPG. It's not the thing in Vaesen. That's pretty other stuff, because combat in Vaesen are so dangerous and will kill off your characters, and it's more like the investigation kind of stuff. It's more low key. It's the small clues. It's the weird song in the corner. It's the shadow that moves in a different way when you move through the house and so on. It's more like that kind of undercuts or very low key horror elements. Where the Alien RPG are more high-pumped action horror. So that's and the system works for both games, and that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I like that it's flexible to do a lot of narrative and then also have really deadly combat.
Yeah,
I think that's really interesting and a great feature to have in a system.
Yeah, because if you took like D&D 5th edition. Created some 5-level characters and tried to play like Call of Cthulhu, that would be pretty uneventful and not very fun, because you have a lot of hit points and so on. But in this system you can do a lot of things. I played Dark Sun with this system. I played Vaesen investigation scenarios. I have played a horror scenario, like very dark, like called Divinity Lost kind of horror in the Vietnam. Actually, the game I have on my website called Jungle Teeth, so check it out. It's just a FYI. It's using the Ancient Zero rules, and I'm creating my own I have a huge dark fantasy setting that I've used for another Danish system, but I've converted into this system, so that's another take on it. I will try to figure out how to create it like a campaign kind of game. Because I feel like this system missed the opportunity to be a campaign kind of thing, as I said before, because the players get so powerful, so you have to mitigate that in some capacity.
So you're saying that over time your Year Zero characters will so to speak level up and become powerful pretty fast, or
not fast?
Are you talking about the other games?
Yeah, not fast. As it's Ancient Zero rules are not made for long campaigns like in 50 or 100 sessions at all.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to give your players XP, and if you use it give the players XP, they will use it on skills, of course, or talents. I had a friend that played a long Coriolis campaign, and they all have the same set of talents because they were the most powerful ones, and they all have like maxed out in guns and maxed out in dodge and maxed out in whatever speciality that each of the characters has. So it wasn't fun for a player, even not alone the GM, but not as like a player. It was too easy to solve the plot in time. So therefore, if you run a Engine Zero campaign, if you want to play it more and more and more in a setting like Aliens, it's pretty easy because the framework of Aliens is that it's against Steve as a player, not your character. So you will change up the characters. You give them new characters. In Vaesen, you can do it like it's like Monster of the Week. Monster of the Week are kind of a game where you get out and figure out the mystery, and then you get back to your HQ, and you can turn down the XP frequency a lot in that capacity, but you can also make it like in the Vaesen there's like a meta plot where there's a society that try to figure out what's wrong with these Vaesen creatures that suddenly comes out of the light and f***s up regular people's life, and figure out how to use to create this society and create different characters in the society, so different characters will go on different mysteries around the Scandinavian or in London or whatever in the US, or it's not so you can mix up the campaign like that instead of the same characters that again and again and again just levels up and levels up and levels up and becomes more and more powerful. So that's that's the way I want to run a 3D campaign.
So more almost like an anthology style then.
Yes. And of course link them together and give them some streamlining ideas, like the Supernatural kind of TV show is a good example on that. There's a Monster of the Week kind of thing, but it's the same characters again and again. And to the last, Sam and Dean was pretty powerful if you put a system on those two guys, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I gotta say, I'm starting to regret not having dived into these books that I have already.
It's a very, very easy system. It's very intuitive, and as like the damage, if you damage your opponent with a sword or rapier, whatever, in Vaesen, you give a character get 2 damage, and a character have 3 hit points. So you can see combat is very lethal. If you fight with a troll, or my players in my last campaign, Vaesen campaign, they woke up a little girl that was actually a werewolf, and that was very, very close. They have to fight it, and that will just tear the group apart in 2 combat rounds. So combat is very, very lethal in this system, in any of the systems, especially Twilight 2000, where the weapons are so high powered and we are just normal people hit by AK. But that's also, you live in the US, so you know what gun violence does with people. And yeah, it's just cool to see a system that takes care of the realism without getting crunch. Because if you take the old system Handmaster, if you know that system, or Zweihunter, it was just terrible to figure out how to be a realism or so yeah, that's my takeaway from the system, for sure.
Okay, yeah, well, and you're right though. A lot of, well, I would say a lot. It's a good many of those more lethal systems are very crunchy. I mean, Steve and I are both pretty big fans of the cyberpunk stuff from Artal Sorian, and Red is not as deadly as 2020 was, but there's a lot of crunch in how those games get deadly. Yeah, you know, it's just how but they were, you know, and I don't know if you have any experience with either of those games, but I still say that Red, given when it was actually designed, or not Red, but 2020, given the era it was designed in, was miles ahead as far as a lot of its design concepts over a lot of games of its era.
Yeah, for sure. If you compare it to Shadowrun, like 3rd edition or something like that, it's just wow, what a difference, for sure. But if you see like other lethal systems that are pretty elegant, but are not great in combat like the World of Darkness system. It's when you go into combat in that system, it's just a shit show. But it's such I hate combat in that system, and I played it a lot. So the way that this system does it, it's realistic, it's lethal, it's dangerous, and it encourages players to not engage into combat, which I love because I hate combat. But in that terminology, I know that players will try to dodge combat in any capacity and figure out how to solve the situation in other ways.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, though, from what you're saying, like we've talked about different times where how different games, like, just because it's the elephant in the room and it's a good reference point, Dungeons and Dragons core gameplay loop is kill monster, get loot, get better gear to kill bigger monster to get more loot. That's the cycle. That's the game's core loop.
Yeah.
Where it sounds like what most of these free league games are going for is make a story. Here's a framework to randomize some of the events.
Yeah, and again, back to the talents. I just want to notify some of the talents that, especially Vaesen, you can pick a skill or a talent in that system, where every system and every session, that character can choose to meet an NPC, which the player makes up in some. So they will take agency into the story that they can meet up with an old guy or old friend or whatever, or an old enemy, because you have to roll a manipulation roll with 1 or 2 successes, and if you don't do that, the character, the person that you summons, quote unquote, are hostile to you, and that's just that's a talent you can pick instead of, okay, I get plus 1 with my sword or whatever. It's so cool to have these talents that exemplifies the role playing and the excitement into having these small things into the system. Another cool one is ghost writing. You can let a ghost possess yourself and get a clue into the story, so you can be possessed in a few hours, and this ghost will give you a clue from the GM. So you can invest and you can make the mystery pretty hard, because you have not only skills but also talents that can help the players solve it or give that clue. We all have been sitting at a table as a GM and it's just so obvious, guys. Can you figure this out? And two in the morning, and they can still not figure it out. In Vaesen, you can create some pretty complicated mysteries with some weird creatures, or like a psalm or verse or whatever, or a song, or whatever, and the players cannot figure it out, but then you can use these talents to get them clues that they can push them in a direction, not necessarily the right direction, but they can move on into the story and help them create more stories into Vaesen, the Vaesen mystery. So that's pretty elegant, and having a low-key horror investigation. I just want to underline this, versus having a hard pump action horror game where you run down the holes in the spaceship, try to kill off an alien with your 9mm. What a perfect system! I have to say. So that's my takeaway from it for sure.
Okay, Steve, do you have any questions here?
No, I'm with you. I need to get this out and try it.
Yeah. If you want to play investigation, pick up the Vaesen game. It's pretty easy. It's the book are gorgeous. I love those. If you want to play some Alien, if you want to play some whatever sci-fi, horror, fantasy, deep space kind of thing, Aliens, of course, the way to go. If you want some sci-fi, Star Trek meets Warhammer 40,000, Coriolis is the stuff. If you want Kids on Bike, Tales of the Loop, or things that was gone in the flood, which are adolescents and late teens game, a bit more sex, lesser Kids on Bike. a bit more horrorly in the archetypes and the things. If you want the classic investigation fantasy kind of thing, Forbidden Lands are your way to go. If you want some cyberpunk, sorry guys, but the Mutant Year Zero things are the way to go. And it's so there's a lot of flavors in that.
Yeah, well, and I know you didn't either. There's Blade Runner.
Yeah, and of course, Blade Runner. I've run one session in Blade Runner, and I don't like the dices. If you want some survival games, you have Twilight 2000, and maybe Call of Cthulhu Investigation if Matt gets his work done soon. And we're waiting. And if you want some zombie apocalypse horror thing, so then you have The Walking Dead soon. So we have a lot of stuff waiting in the with this system. And okay, Blade Runner is, if you like cyberpunk and you don't like fighting, Blade Runner is pretty cool. It's the book is gorgeous. The way to build characters, you have to roll on a lot of small tables when you create your character, where you get a lot of memories from your early days as a kid, and how you live and what things are important to you, or which persons are important to you. You have to roll these things, and you can, as a GM, pick those things out, write them down, and make the players think they are androids or replicants, that they call in that system. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I just want to point out too, just from the books that I have, now that I've some ones I've picked up at stores and looked at, the production level, the art, everything on all these Free League books is just top notch.
Yeah, it's out of this world. It's go home Hasbro with your Dungeons & Dragons crap. Not since I think the old Ravenloft books or Dark Sun book with Brom. I don't have enjoyed the artwork alone in these books as much as I do in these books. Johan that creates the Dragonbane and the Vaesen stuff. He's such a cool artist and creates such a very unique style that gives you emerge into this investigation, dark Nordic horror thingy. And again, if you look at the pages of the Blade Runner and the Alien book, it's the same artist. I can't remember what's the name of the artist is. But you also get this. You just get sucked in to just stand on a landing pad on some barren planet and just look in terror when aliens come running in your face. So it's such cool artworks in these books, all of them, as you said. So yeah, Forbidden Lands not so much. It's old style. It's a unique style, but it's a style. But it's old school. It has its charm. But it's most of the drawings are very very simplified. So yeah, but also some of the first production from Free League. So it was cool.
All right. Well, I know you took a little bit of a hiatus to kind of shift gears here. Unless you have anything more you want to add on this, but I feel like we've gone quite a ways with this.
Yeah.
You have a podcast of your own,
yes.
GM Workshop. I know you took a bit of a break there for a little bit, but you've recently started re-releasing some stuff. Do you want to take a minute to kind of let people know about that and where they can find it and so on?
The GM Workshop, it's all on all the Apple Podcast and Google Podcast and all the things. It's a podcast like your guys. It's talking about RPG. I'm solo on it at the moment, and beforehand I was talking to exciting people. I actually talked to you, Steve, but my computer f***ed up and the interview got lost, and I'm very sad about that. But we have to do a rerun in some capacity. And I talked to game designers and GMs. The first 50 episodes are in Danish, so if you don't have a great understanding of that, skip those first 50 episodes and or 40 episodes. And but therefrom, I have talked to Andrew Gasker twice, that create the Alien RPG, Nils that create the Vaesen RPG, so Free League guys, Matthias that create the Simbaroon, April that create the are managing the Fallout RPG at Modifius. So I've talked to a lot of exciting people, plus a lot of GMs that run the different games. Carl and Christian that create the Dead in Space, another free league game, which are not Engine Zero. Pretty confusing, but Lynn Hardy that create the Call of Cthulhu. Steve Dempsey that creates stuff for Trailer Cthulhu, and there's a lot of different cool people I've talked to. Check that out. They're so sweet and nice, and we have some pretty geeky conversations because the tagline on it's a nerdy production, and that is a warning for sure because it's very very geeky, and I love to talk to more people And Sunday I started a new series where I go solo and just will take out books from my shelf and talk about the games. I started with the Al-Qadim setting, the D&D setting from the TSR times. If you don't know that setting, it's a 1001 Arabian Nights setting with high magic and no dragons and a lot of genies and Jafars and flying carpets. It's one of the best TSR settings in my perspective. And today, actually, I just released my second episode in that series. It's about Dark Sun, one of my all-time favorite settings. And I hope someone like Free League will pick it up and make it R-rated as it should be, and away from the fluffy pink rainbowy thingies at Hasbro, because it has to be with slaves, and it has to be dark, and it has to be gritty, and you cannot do that in Hasbro apparently. So I hope they will pick it up, but I don't have high hopes. So we have to play it at the TSR level of stuff.
Yeah, Dark Sun was actually my introduction to D&D.
Oh, that's a hard sell. Yeah, wow. And you stuck around. That's impressive. It's actually one of my good friends. She heard some actual play podcast and tried to. She wrote. She's like 30 or something like that. Then she just write to different nerdy groups in Denmark and, hey, I want to play roleplay. I never tried it before. Cool. And I was just starting up a D&D 5th edition Dark Sun group, and she was introduced to that, and she still plays too. So that's pretty cool. So maybe it's the right way to go. Just a hard go. And next week I will look at the Ravenloft setting, and then I'm done with TSR settings. So I'll move on to other exciting settings and systems. So yeah. But yeah, the GM workshop, check it out. It's pretty fun, and it's pretty nerdy. So if you like nerdy podcasts as this one, it's a clean up your alley, that's for sure.
All right. Anything else, Steve? Am I forgetting anything?
No. I think with all that being said, let's move into Game of the Week.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo! Game of the Week.
Game of the Week. Game of the Week.
All right. So what order are we going in here?
I have one. If everybody's cool with that.
Yeah, sure.
All right. I have a game that is currently free until the second edition comes out, in which case they're going to pull it off of drive-thru. It's called the Disturbance Timeline RPG. So I'm currently looking at the core rules for the post-apocalyptic time period. It's a game around traveling time and disturbing the peace.
Okay. You got a link for this by any chance?
Yeah.
Is it Doctor Who?
No, it's a little grimy. It's a little greasy. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's very post-apocalyptic. But what caught me was their expansions to this game, like Lunatic Larry and the Church of the Insane.
Nice.
Or I saw another one here, and I can't see what I can find. That's they have like post-apocalyptic expansions. It just looks like a really interesting, wild game that is currently free, and definitely something I'll be checking out and reading at least.
Yeah,
it looks. I mean, hey, the price is right.
Yeah.
You can't be.
Is that? It almost looks in the video clip there. It looks like the kid is wearing a shirt that says "cult," and it could be spelled like the RPG cult.
Nice.
I don't know. I didn't really watch the video clip.
No, I'm not watching the video. Just in the cap. There's a link in the Green Room channel, like 2 channels up from where we're talking.
I see that.
For your benefit, Jacob.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kid all the way to the right of the picture almost looks like it could say KULT on it.
Yeah. I don't know. It looks like a bizarre, dark, fun tabletop RPG, which is something I'm always down for. So, all right, somebody else's turn.
All right. Well, would you like to go, Jacob, or you want me to?
Yeah. Just go ahead, because I have to find the right thing. It has to be a free league game, of course. So.
Well, all right, then I'll leave the low-hanging fruit I was thinking about using, because you may end up taking that, because you mentioned it a couple times. I'm going to mention one from someone. Well, it's from Fat Goblin Games, which is run primarily by Rick Hershey, and we talked a little bit about it. The genre anyway, of the kind of the kids on bikes, Stranger Things, whatever. Well, they just put out one they're calling Stranger Stuff, and it runs on the Tiny D6 engine, which I've heard a lot of good things about.
Yeah.
Rick's artwork seems to work really well with what I can see of this, and I mean, it just, look, I mean, the genre is a fun thing to play, definitely. It comes with it's saying a detailed setting they're calling Crestview Hills, which is a classic 80s Midwestern town. Tiny D6, which again, like I said, I've heard a lot of good things about, although I haven't actually read it. But it's updated and expanded. It says, it's got rules for clubhouse building, just all kinds of neat stuff. So again, that's called Stranger Stuff. It's from Fat Goblin Games.
Cool. Yeah, I have to bring up some of the new stuff from Free League. It's not the Mutant Year Zero rules, but it's pretty cool. It's a third-party license. If you guys know the Markborg franchise or the Markborg system, do you know that system at all, or have you talked to that about that?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
very familiar.
Yeah, it's that's crazy. That's crazy artwork.
Cyborg is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and this one is the Pirate Borg, and where we play the Pirates of the Caribbean times Markborg. It's gonna be fun. It seems like a pretty good beer and pretzel game for Friday night, and having a lot of laughs and some pretty cool stories. And I'm not sure I want to play this a lot, but there's a pretty cool sandbox adventure integrated into the system and into the book as such. Curse of the Skeleton Point, where you have a sandbox type adventure you can just go on to. I actually had Luke on talking about this game. So it's a pretty cool idea for a game, and of course there's ship battles and combat with rapiers and sabers and so on. So that's a game I really want to check out if I had a Friday night with the guys, for sure.
Yeah, I've got there's a guy I know through one of our local game shops that backed that and got it.
Yeah,
it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's for sure. It's on the way to me, so I hope I will play it soon. So
cool. All right, so if y'all don't object, I want to do a bonus game of the week here, and I specifically kind of want to get your input on this because you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Jacob. That being Dragonbane.
Yeah.
Which is a free league thing. My understanding it's not Year Zero.
No.
My understanding is this is kind of it's well, according to the listing, it was the big Scandinavian RPG for years.
Yes, together with Cult, it's the two titans of our part of the world, for sure. It was Dragonbane or Drager and Dæmoner, as it's called. Dragon and Demons. I don't know why they called Dragonbane now, but it's you have to sell it to the Bible Belt in the US or something like that, so you can call it Demons. It's Dragonbane is a fantasy system back in the days, and a pretty cool idea to play very lethal RPG. It was back in the day. It was actually based on the basic roleplay mechanics, later converted into a D20 roll under system, and I think that's the way they will go with it in what I have seen. I haven't tested it yet. I have it on my shelf, but I haven't played it at all because I have an allergy to D20s in roll under system or basic roleplay in all regards. But it's cool to see a classic thing from my early upbringing as a role-playing games re-edited and created with Johan's beautiful art. And I hope someone will pick this up instead of D&D because it's much better system than D&D for telling stories.
Now, is it? I was going to ask. From the impression I've got is that it's also kind of expressly kind of beer and pretzels, kind of maybe tongue-in-cheek comedic a bit.
Yeah, it's more lighthearted than many. It's like it was a precursor. RuneQuest was a precursor to this, and RuneQuest was basic roleplay with very much crunch. It was very lethal, and the dog race especially was one of the iconic races that they took from the RuneQuest and put it over to Dragonbane. Andreas from Sweden Rolls, if you know that actual play podcast, he talked to me about Dragonbane, and he has a vivid history about it, and you can link it to you if you want, if your listeners want to know more about Dragonbane, because he knows a lot about Dragonbane, a lot more than I did, because he's a Swedish super geek. But in capacity of Dragonbane, I think they didn't do it enough to make it a great game. I'm very disappointed when I picked up the quick start. I have got it just after it was released, and I'm not impressed. I love the art because it's Johan, but it's but they didn't make a setting for it. It's just a small map where you can go and kill some monsters and so on. It's because one of the charms with Draw Demona and Dragonbane was just a flat system, so you can put on a setting on top of it, but there was still a lot of flavor and a lot of ideas you can put into your setting, just like in D&D actually. So it's just a D&D light kind of thing, but yeah, tongue in cheek, maybe just lighthearted fantasy. It's not fun in games only. It's also a very lethal game, and the monsters are real and so on. But it's as you said, maybe a bit more tongue in cheek than maybe some of the other games they have.
Yeah, I was just curious to get a little more of a perspective on it, because I've heard it mentioned around various places of the internet a little bit recently, and was just curious to get a take on it from I didn't know if you'd had any background with it.
Yeah, I played it. I played a lot back in the days. That was our go-to if we didn't want to play D&D or D&D second edition, I have to say. But we also have a Danish role-playing game in Denmark, so I played a lot, and it's called LEF. And it's only released in Danish. So good luck to figure out that system. But actually, it's just the system is very easy. Actually, it's 2d6s and adding a skill, and it's the same difficulty range as in Western Games D6 system.
Okay.
This from 0 to 30. That's the skill range you can hit. So it's very easy system. So
okay.
Yeah. So it's the same system basically. Just not another D6s. You just have a more tight skill. But that's another talk. Sorry, I was derailed. So yeah. But yeah, it's one of the iconic Scandinavian games they have re-released. So yeah, they did it a very good job with the Cult Divinity Lost, with which I played a lot more than Dragonbane, because when I want to play fantasy, I just played D&D because that was some of my friends that played games, fantasy games. They knew those rules, so I didn't want to bother them to learn them new rules. But if I want to play horror games, that was called Divinity Lost, and a bit Call of Cthulhu, and later Vampire. So that was my flavor. Some like two different ways to approach a role-playing game as a GM. And maybe I've mentioned I am the forever GM in my groups. So I haven't played. I'm not a great player, so I'm always the player, always the GM. So so yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to say, just thank you for taking the time to come chat with us about the Year Zero engine, especially considering when we started it was 1 o'clock in the morning in your time.
Yeah, but I have to have you on again. This time I will not ruin the audio, Steve. And I have recorded. I have recorded in my end, so you root this talk. I have it on my computer as well. So
all right then.
Cool. But thanks for this, and check out the GM workshop if you want to have more nerdy podcast in your ear over the summer. So thanks for this, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. And
yeah, it was cool.
As always, links to everything are in our show notes. Facebook, Discord, Patreon, all that fun stuff, including your stuff there. We want to remind everyone to be kind to one another and get out there and play some RPGs.
Yeah.
Yep. Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and RPGs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast. On Discord at Me and Steve RPGs. And as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.